Let me just, is this the magic? Oh, that's probably the magic button. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Two disclaimers to start off with. So, this is my first time attending iWeek, so it's been quite interesting, quite fun. And I must say, it's very nice to see. I'm on a cybersecurity side of things, so I tend to attend like B-sides and those kinds of cybersecurity conferences. But it's nice to see the same energy here, even though the focus might be slightly different. So it's quite cool, I must say. I really have enjoyed and learned quite a lot in my very limited time here, and I hopefully in future can hopefully attend a few more of these. Second disclaimer, if you guys were thinking we're going to talk about the cybersecurity challenges of South Africa or the world here, I do apologize. That's not the focus of the talk. I should have probably looked at the title, in the program and said, listen, maybe we need to make a small change. So if that was the expectations, I'm quite sorry. You're welcome to discuss it afterwards. I'm happy to go into that rabbit hole and discuss all the cybersecurity problems we are seeing in the world out here. But hopefully still, I must say, this talk I am addressing one particular problem. Perhaps not the technical problem, more human related. So I do hope it will still be of interest. Cool. So you must be wondering, is that the typo? I am Heloise Meyer. I'm married now, so I tend to jump between my maiden surname and my married surname because as a researcher, if you started off your research career and your publishing career in your maiden surname, it's difficult to change. So I go for both of them still. Most of that was already said. I'm currently working at the CSIR, so the Council for Scientific Industrial Research. I've been there now for 14 years, probably a bit part of the furniture, but it's okay. I still enjoy it. So it's really where I sort of got my taste for cybersecurity. When I started my studies, the aim wasn't to work in cybersecurity, not at all. I was really aiming to become a software developer. That seemed to be the very exciting career choice at that time. It's a few years ago now. AI might have changed that, but anyway. But yeah, had fun there, got sort of my exposure to cybersecurity, and then in 2022 I moved over to SUNREN. So SUNREN is the South African National Research Network. And there I'm part of the CSIR team, as well as lead organizer for the Cybersecurity Challenge. So I will give you guys a bit of insight into that. And yes, I'm very passionate about human capital development. This is really sort of what the focus is of the talk today, is really to get more people, perhaps not just into cybersecurity, young minds, but also into the ICT sector. It's a fun experience. Not always as successful as I thought I might be, but I'll touch on that later. But it's quite an interesting thing I'm trying to achieve. So just a bit of background. So I'm part of SUNREN, as mentioned. We're based at, or form part of NICIS. NICIS is the National Integrated Cyber Infrastructure System. We host it at the CSIR, so that's how I am still stuck at the CSIR, essentially. Part of NICIS is SUNREN, and then also the Center for High Performance Computing, CHPC, and then the RISA, the Data Intensive Research Initiative of South Africa. We also like our acronyms, goodness gracious, yeah, quite a few of them. So, but what's quite critical, both of these three programs forming part of NICIS, we both have a focus area on human capital development. So all three of these units run their separate student competitions, trying to get more young minds, young people interested to work in these areas and really to get people upskilled, working specifically in terms of cyber infrastructure. So what is the SUNREN Cybersecurity Challenge all about? So this is an annual event that we host as SUNREN. It's co-located as part of the CHPC annual conference, which is usually hosted at the end of the year, end of November, December. We started off in 2017 already. I actually only joined in 2022 and sort of took over ownership of the competition. And then we're very excited that this year we'll be hosting our 10th event of the competition. So we're trying to go a bit bigger, go a bit better. But we'll see how successful we are in terms of that. So it was initially just a student competition aimed at South African universities, where we really would like to, get more students, more young minds involved in cybersecurity. But we've also expanded in recent years to involve countries from the SADC region, to get some university students involved from that area as well. Quite interesting, we've had very good participation from Namibia, Namibia University of Science and Technology. So, and then also some participation from Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho and Eswatini in the past. So what is the CSC essentially? So this is us trying to provide a safe environment for students to come in. They can come and practice some, I want to say, InfoSec ethical hacking. I don't want to just say hacking skills. We don't want to develop a group of hackers. We want to develop a group of ethical hackers, cybersecurity specialists. But I know those terms can, blur a bit, to be honest. So we provide this environment to allow them to come in, test their skills if they think they have perhaps some skills already, come and learn new skills, compete against other students and see how far their current skill set can take them. Also provide them the opportunity to learn something new. So a lot of these students come in from either computer science, IT, engineering background. So we're also trying to instill some different skills, different knowledge about the cybersecurity field through the competition. And I think the third point there is quite critical, where we're trying to, I want to say, just change the way of thinking for these particular students. So normally for those here that are software developers, developing systems, technologies, your focus is always, how should you develop the system so that the user can make use of it, use it efficiently, easily, and so forth. But the problem is, once an attacker looks at that system, they have a different point of view. They want to try and break in. So you might have a system where you have a username and password, and a normal user will provide a username and password, but the attacker will perhaps say, what if I add a little bit of special characters at the end? What's going to happen to this system? How far can it take me? So we're trying to help the students just to look a bit different. So even though if they do not uptake a career in cybersecurity, if they become developers still, hopefully they will look at systems from a security perspective. And then also just in general, just improve their problem-solving skills, which I think is quite critical to work in this area as well. So the purpose of the CSC is really just to try and cultivate interest in cybersecurity, expose as many students to this environment, to this domain as possible. And the expectation has always been, and at least since I've started in 2022, that by stimulating and giving the students, young minds, exposure to cybersecurity, they will hopefully take up a career in cybersecurity. So, but I will answer that last one perhaps specifically more closer to the end. So in terms of the format for the competition specifically, we do 2 rounds, qualification and final. Qualification, this is open to full-time registered students, so if there's any students here, I'm not sure, and you want to participate, you're more than welcome. It's open for this year, please come. It is a team format, so I think this is quite critical, because I do often get the question, can I come do this individually? And the answer is always no, because if you're going to work in cybersecurity, you're going to work in a team-based environment. It's true for most environments, to be honest. And critical with cybersecurity also is even though as hard as you might try, you won't know all the domains, all the specialities within cybersecurity. So you need to have a team that can support you across various sectors. In terms of the team format, 3 to 4 members, we do gender diversity. So we try to get the ladies involved, get more women involved in cybersecurity. We've been quite successful in recent times. I think that there's been an uptake in terms of women participating in our competition. So we seem to have a bit of success there, trying to force teams to, if they want to be 4 members, they need to have a bit of gender diversity. And then also, this is open to all degrees. The question might be, students always ask, what degree must you study to be able to come and participate in this specific competition? Now, yes, you might think computer science, IT, engineering, yes, that offers the necessary background, it's fine. But we're open to all degrees. STEM are probably preferred, but all degrees are welcome. I think I had a participant a year or two ago that was in the arts degree. But we welcome them because, to be quite honest, from a cybersecurity perspective, cybersecurity is not just limited to the IT team at the organization, looking after the technology perhaps of a specific company or so forth. I feel cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. We're all part of this digital domain, so we're all exposed to cybersecurity. So it doesn't matter from what degree you come. If you want to learn cybersecurity, our door is open for you to come. What we do with the competition specifically is we do Jeopardy-style capture the flag. So for those of you in cyber might be familiar with this particular format. So this is basically where we provide the students a small collection of different cybersecurity challenges, or I tend to call it puzzles, on specific domains. So it can be networking, web exploitation, forensics, and they need to basically solve this puzzle. It's a problem they need to solve. Once they solve the problem, they will get the answer. The answer is the flag, to which they will then get specific points. So qualification is open, is remote. I think last year I had around 800 participants in our qualification round across Southern Africa. And then we do the final. So the final is a bit more restricted. We only invite 10 teams to the final. It is an in-person event where we actually invite the students to come. It's co-hosted, as mentioned, as part of the CHPC National Conference. Here we do another CTF-based challenge. We do attack and defend, which is quite a fun challenge. It's more hands-on, more penetration testing related, where teams actually attack other teams, and it gets quite crazy, and the students get quite annoyed because they can't defend their own systems in time. And I think quite critical what we also do at this event is that we invite members from the cybersecurity domain, organizations working in this environment. They come in as sponsors and they provide specialized, dedicated challenges. So this gives the students the opportunity to come in and actually experience the work they're going to do in this environment, because this is, as it is coming from organizations working in cybersecurity, they come and specifically provide problems they are working with, environments they are working with. And it's also quite fun because they can do a bit of, headhunting and look for perhaps potential candidates for their environments. And then we also teach the students lockpicking. It might seem a bit random. It's quite a lot of fun, and the skills you require to pick a lock is actually quite relevant to working in cybersecurity. I want to say patience and dedication. Yeah. So this has been our finals. Since 2022, we've been all across South Africa, from the Kruger National Park to Cape Town. It's been quite a lot of fun, quite eventful. There's loads of stories I can tell, but I won't bore you guys too much with that. If you want to know the behind-the-scenes stories, you're welcome to come and speak to me. And then I just want to touch on the success of this CSC a bit. That is a bit small, but that's all the institutions that has been participating since we started in 2017. University of Pretoria's front runners, followed by University of Witwatersrand. And then also we had good participation from Rhodes University, University of Western Cape, University of Cape Town. Ironically, their engineering department mostly, and then also, as mentioned, Namibia University of Science and Technology. They've been quite good in this environment. As I've mentioned perhaps a few slides before, the focus has always been to try and get students to come and work in the cybersecurity field. And I've recently, as we've approached our 10th edition now, started to ask the question, have we been successful? We've been hosting this competition now for almost 10 years. Are these students, through this exposure, taking up careers in cybersecurity? And the question is yes, there are, but not as many as I hoped. And that's now my second question, which I'm currently working on, is if we're doing all of this and there's so few uptake, are we missing something? Are we doing something wrong? What else do we need to do? But I don't want to focus on all the bad. There is good. We have seen, people coming into cybersecurity. There is also, the trend is showing an upwards curve. So hopefully over the next 10-year cycle, even more will join. And we can see some of the career choices becoming analysts, specialists. There's quite a few taking up internships. They are students freshly out of university, so that is expected. But as the focus has been of the Sunrise Cybersecurity Challenge, to get students to go into a cybersecurity career, ISPA approached the competition in 2023 through their ISPA Inspires educational sponsorship, where they are basically working almost on a similar, aim, trying to get more people, more students, young minds to come and work in the ICT sector. Now, cybersecurity is basically a subset of the ICT sector. So they approached us, and since 2023, they've been a sponsor of our competition. And I must say, perhaps firstly, a big thank you to ISPA. This sponsorship and collaboration has been a tremendous success since it started. I mean, we have successfully awarded 4 ISPA Inspires educational sponsorships to students, hopefully to get them to pursue their careers in the ICT sector. And the students has also found this, to be quite supportive, helping them to continue on with their degrees. This has been really, really successful. There is, when we started, one of the key points was, now, how will we go about to actually select the students for this specific sponsorship? And there was specific criteria that has been applied. And for those of you that might be familiar with ISPA's Inspires educational sponsorship will be familiar. I mean, you need to be a South African citizen, younger than 35 years, so I don't qualify anymore. That's sad. You must be a current student, or prospective student enrolled specifically in an ICT degree. Not hold any current bursary. So those are the typical check boxes that we want to check. But where the competition came in, and I think really provided quite a lot of success, is that we are uniquely positioned to look at additional criteria while these students are participating at the finals at our competition. So we can look at their technical expertise. How are they actually doing working in, solving these problems related to the ICT sector? How's their teamwork and coordination? Teamwork, I think we all know, is quite critical in this environment. As an individual, you can't know everything. You need to be able to work with different people with different skill sets, with different personalities as well. Working under pressure, that's, I think, if you're going to work in cybersecurity, this is quite critical. Can you handle that pressure? If the situation suddenly change, how do you adapt? How do you change? And that has been quite, wonderfully placed, our competition, to evaluate that specific criteria, to look for students and potential to assign this educational sponsorship. So as mentioned, there's been 4 recipients since 2023, and unfortunately, I don't think any of them could be here, but it's quite interesting. I'll briefly just mention perhaps 1 or 2 things about each of them. So Mrs. Kutsia from University of Western Cape, she received the sponsorship in 2023. She was the first recipient through this collaboration. She was doing a master's in computer science. Quite interesting, she came back last year in the competition, made it to the final, and was part of the winning team. for our competition. So, that was quite interesting to see. Then Mr. Jula from UCT is doing his engineering in electrical and computer engineering. So at the time, and when he received, he was, I think, either first or second year student. And so he could continue with his studies. He was part of the team that placed second in the 2024 competition. And then last year, it was quite an interesting scenario where we really struggled to separate two students. And we essentially decided for them to share the sponsorship. And that was Mr. Dladla and Mr. Feldman. Both are doing computer science. I think both of them were also second-year students at the time. So they're both continuing with their studies. So this collaboration, I think, has been quite successful in helping growing and instilling perhaps interest in the ICT sector and ensuring that students who are interested, that they can continue with their studies and complete their degrees. So to conclude, if I press hard enough, there we go. So over the past decade with the competition, we've actually given over 280 students exposure to cybersecurity through the competition. And I think with the collaboration with the Inspires program, we've breached that cap to try and get more students to, get more involved in the ICT sector. Trying to empower the next generation of ICT leaders, and this is my very optimistic conclusions slide. Like I've mentioned, the picture I've seen, especially from the cybersecurity perspective, there's still work that needs to be done. We have these initiatives, but we're not really seeing the good results. Not so many going into cybersecurity, perhaps not even going to ICT, working in that specific sector. So there's still work to be done. But I can say we have ideas, and we'll keep on pushing, keep on trying to get more and more people to get into this environment. We need those skills. And on that, I will say thank you so much. Seven minutes. Any questions? Any complaints? Any suggestions how we can improve?
Louise Jacques here, in Drexel. I studied way back at University of Pretoria, honors degree computer science. So from that perspective, I see PC hat, which is the intercollegiate programming contest hat on, which is, I think, a similar concept to what you've got here, just more in the programming environment than in the security. And something I've been involved since until COVID killed it, basically, on the management. Yeah, it's pretty much dead.
Oh, sad to hear.
Yeah, and effectively, the question is, and something I've wondered about on that side as well, is why do we keep restricting this to students and not open it up to the wider industry to also be able to take benefit from these kind of training and exercise situations so that we can... there's lots of young and upcoming network guys that don't necessarily get to study a degree, but definitely has the knowledge and the potential skill to be able to take benefit of these things. But for some reason, we keep excluding those groups from being able to take advantage of these opportunities.
Yeah.
Just love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's an excellent question. So I fully support that perhaps, in a way, when we run and look at these initiatives, even though we do it from specifically for a university perspective, there is reason behind it, a history behind it. It's also perhaps part of the mission and vision of the groups I'm a part of. So that's why our focus is on a university level. But it doesn't mean we should end there. We can always expand and try to get perhaps, even if it's students following different routes, not necessarily you're studying at public universities, but perhaps at other institutions, other colleges, also try and give them the opportunity to get this exposure. Or if it's perhaps young employees in internships, also try to get them those exposure. So I'm fully supportive of that. But I am, from this competition's perspective, I am restricted, unfortunately. But one can never there's always opportunities perhaps to look at alternatives to get those people also involved. So that is a very good point, thanks. Okay. Okay. Any more questions? No more? Oh, there's still 4 minutes, so. Otherwise, I will say thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity, and again, thanks to ISPA for being a part of this initiative. I really do hope we can continue our collaboration going forward. And like I said, I think there's been great success, but there's still work to do. Thank you so much.
Up next is